Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Hall of Fame Live. And we have another fantastic guest for you today in the form of a 17-time Grand Slam champion, a former world number one, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a Fed Cup champion, and the list goes on. Gigi Fernandez, great to see you.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, first off, happy belated Mother's Day. How are you and how's the family?
I'm great. This is the first time since 9/11 that I have not been on constant travel mode. So I'm actually enjoying being home and not having to be so much on the go and actually having permission to be home because, it's not like I couldn't be home before, but I always felt like I had to go to work. I had to go, travel and do clinics and do my camps and all that. But now it's not happening. So I'm just relaxing and really enjoying the hiatus. I'm actually enjoying it, believe it or not.
Well, we know you do a lot of coaching. We have the online operation as well as on the court. Are you able to be back on the court at all, or are we enjoying the magic of modern
No,
technology?
there's no tennis around here. I do my camps the Innisbrook Resort. The resort's closed through the end of the month. I actually had a camp with Martina Navratilova that was supposed to be last week, and we had to postpone that till October. So unfortunately, not opening yet, and everything obviously March, April, May was canceled. I have some stuff in June in Seattle that's probably going to get canceled. In Pacific Northwest, I had a whole trip in the Pacific Northwest that's probably going to all be canceled. And then I have July in the Northeast, and I'm still hopeful that may happen, but very very slim hope that that's going to happen.
All right. Well, we'll think positive thoughts for you on that. But if you're
Yeah.
joining us today, just as a reminder, you can leave a question for Gigi in the comment section. We're going to try to get to some of those at the end of the show today. And Gigi, we collected some fan questions earlier in the week. We're going to kick things off with one of those. And we actually got a similar question for Todd Woodbridge last week. And I'm glad we got it again because I'm very excited to hear your answer on this one. It's from Julie on Twitter, and she asks, if you could pick a current player to team up with, who would it be and why?
Oh, what a great question. I mean, other than being the obvious and saying Serena, right? I would say Coco Gauff. I think she has a true talent and true potential. She's a pretty smart doubles player. She could probably um, use some help from somebody who's like been there, done that, to help her kind of get to the next level and starting to win Grand Slams in doubles, which I think she will someday. So I think that would be my current day pick.
I would love to see that. All right, we have lots to cover today. Your story is really incredible, and it starts in Puerto Rico in 1964.
That's
How
right.
how old were you when you first picked up a racket, and who influenced you in that?
So I was 3 when I first started playing, and my influencers were my big brothers. They were all playing tennis, and I wanted to be like them. We would go to the club in the after school, and they would take lessons, but I was too young, so all I could do was go to the blackboard and get a racket and hit against the wall. So I started playing tennis, hitting against the wall when I was 3, and then I kept asking for tennis lessons. Finally, when I was 7, um, I was granted tennis lessons, so I took my first tennis lesson at 7. I played my first match when I was 8, and I lost 6-0, 6-0. So there is hope for everybody out there. If you don't have a good start, you can always have a better finish.
There you go. Not how
Then I
you.
started playing junior tennis in Puerto Rico, and because Puerto Rico Tennis Association was part of the United States Tennis Association, I was lucky that I could travel to the United States and play in the junior circuit in the summer. So that's where I was discovered by a couple of college coaches that offered me a scholarship to play college tennis, and that's when my game really took off when I went to college.
Sure. Well, given that the tennis culture in Puerto Rico at the time, in particular for a young girl, wasn't exactly robust, what were some of the challenges that you faced as you grew up and as you wanted to grow your talent?
I think the biggest challenge was that I had no role models. There was really no one that I could look up to and say I want to be like them. There's not another Hispanic or female or Puerto Rican that I could say, oh, she is a professional athlete. I'm going to do what she did. So I kind of have to blaze my own trail and find my own path. And also that the fact that in Puerto Rico in the '60s was kind of behind the times. We were a little bit behind the times. Not only were coaches not willing to teach girls topspin, because they thought that we girls were too weak to hit topspin. So I learned to play with a slice forehand and slice backhand. When I went to college, that's what I had. When I turned pro, that's what I had. So that was kind of a challenge, you know. I was really raised to get married and have kids. That was what I was supposed to do. So the fact that I went off and became a professional athlete was kind of very unusual and very random.
Well, it started, as you said, with those college coaches who scouted you and said, this is a talent we'd like to have on our team. So you ended up going to Clemson. And from what I understand, that was the first time you actually trained on a daily basis. So how do you think your trajectory would have been different if you had maybe a typical tennis upbringing?
I think I probably would have been a little bit better in singles because what I didn't have was the ground stroke base and the solid ground strokes that I needed to be able to sustain rallies with the better ground strokers to give me enough time to get to the net. So, you know, I serve volleyed and came in, and that was very natural to me, and I was very good at doing that. But when I played somebody who had really good ground strokes, I couldn't hang for 4, 5, 6 ground strokes to then get to the net. Um, so I attribute it to that. You know, I was actually learning to hit topspin while I was already a pro, and that's really hard, impossible to do nowadays. If you go to on tour now with a weakness, you'll get picked apart. But back then, you could still attempt to do it. So yeah, I mean, but I have no complaints. You know, I had a normal upbringing. I did all the traditional things that most teenagers do, and you know, prom and you know, senior trips and whatnot. I did all that, and I think a lot of tennis players, they get, especially now in this era, they're so dedicated to that from such a young age that they really miss out on having a normal childhood. You know, some of my best friends to this day are my high school friends, and I would never want to give that up for anything. So I have no regrets, and I would not have done it any other way.
Love that. All right, so let's fast forward to the end of your freshman year. You get to the finals of the NCAAs. You lose to a player named Beth Hur, 7-6 in the third, who then, less than 2 months later, loses 8-6 in the third to Billie Jean King at Wimbledon. So
Yes.
how did that sort of change your goals in terms of your tennis career?
So that was really the first time in my life that I thought that maybe I could be a pro because I had just had a match point against Beth. So I was obviously right there with her, almost beat her. And I see her 2 months later, almost beating Billie Jean King, who was still a great player at the time. So I thought, wow, that was that girl that that I should have beat. So I took the fall off. I played a handful of tournaments. Back then, the Australian Open was on grass in November. So that was part of my fall trip. And after coming back from Australia, I was ranked 85 in the world in singles. So I figured that it was time to turn pro. And my dad actually ended up making the decision for me because I couldn't really make it because I had a free scholarship, free education, and we don't take that lightly. No one should ever take that lightly, and especially in my family. Uh, I come from a family of highly educated, you know, doctors, and my grandfather was a doctor. My grandmother was the first female dentist in all of Puerto Rico. She graduated at UPenn in 1920. So,
Wow.
and my four uncles were doctors. So, you know, the joke in my family was when I was off jet setting, traveling around the world, was that I was just another college dropout. so, um, so yeah, so the first thing I did when I retired was went and finished my degree, and then subsequently I got my MBA. So now I'm in the same par with my siblings now.
I love it. That's fantastic. So, okay, you decide to turn pro and you experience success. I want to go fast forward to the 1990 US Open. It was your second Grand Slam title, and you did it playing alongside Martina Navratilova. And she had legend status at that point.
Yeah.
What was the pressure like going out there as Martina's partner?
Oh, it was horrible because, you know, if we won, it was, of course, you win. You're playing with Martina, who at the time, the best doubles team in the world was Martina and whoever she was playing with. And I was just lucky that she picked me. But if we lost, it was all going to be my fault. But, you know, I want to mention the 1988 US Open because when I've been playing tennis for 4 years, and the 88 US Open was the first time I won a Grand Slam. But I went into that Grand Slam and I was going to quit tennis because I was miserable. I was losing every week. You know, when you have a good junior career and a good college career, I'd lost a handful of times in my life. And then when you turn pro, you lose every single week. Even if unless you win the tournament, which only one person does, every week, and usually you lose twice a week, singles and doubles. So I didn't really know how to lose. I had a really hard time understanding, or I hadn't just wasn't mature enough to understand that losing are learning experiences, and you actually learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. So I was going to quit, and my agent said to me, "Well, before you quit, why don't you go meet Dr. Jim Lair and see if you can get some help from him? He's one of the most famous sports psychologists in our sport, or in sports." And what he helped me with, helped me win that Grand Slam. And I literally was going to quit, and I ended up winning it. So it was like, oh my God, I really have to figure out what's going up here, so I can continue doing this. And the next Grand Slam I won was the 1991 with Martina. So that felt really good, because I was no longer a one slam wonder. I that was my second one, and then I knew that it was not a fluke. And then from there, Natasha Zvereva and I then got together in '92. And when we started playing together, we went on this amazing run. We won 6 Grand Slams in a row. And I also won the Olympic gold medal with Mary Jo, all in like a year and a half period. It was truly spectacular while it was going on. When it was going on, it was like seemed really normal that we just won 6 Grand Slams in a row. But now I understand that's highly unusual. Like I can't think of anybody who's won 6 Grand Slams in a row in recent times. Serena might have won 5, but
Yeah.
it was like, it was pretty unique, and pretty special partnership that we had. We won 14 Grand Slams in 5 years, and I know that's a record. No one's ever won 14 Grand Slams in any male or female. So that's kind of cool that we did that. But yeah, it was there were special times. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Sure. Well, we're going to I want to talk more about your partnership with Natasha, but since you brought up the mental aspect of the game, I want to follow up on that. Dr. Jim Lair obviously was very famous within the world of tennis, but it wasn't necessarily something that a lot of people talked about, getting help on the mental side of the game. What was it that he was able to talk to you about or work through with you that helped you on the court? Were there any tips or tricks that you
Yeah,
could pass
absolutely.
along?
So there's 2 things that I credit him with. The first one is figuring out what to do with the 25 seconds between points. It's obviously in tennis, a lot of time goes on a match where you're not actually hitting the ball. And it's actually 84% of the time that you're playing a match on average, you're not hitting a tennis ball. So learning what to do with that time was hugely important. And then the second thing he did specifically at the U.S. Open, what he had me do was act. He asked me if I knew how to act, and I said, "Well, I'm no Academy Award winner, but what do you want me to do?" Actually, my great uncle Jose Ferrer was an Academy Award winner.
You're
He
kidding.
won he won an Oscar for his Portorello Serrano de Bergerac in 1956, I believe.
Wow.
So I have that, I guess, in my blood, and I said, but I'll give it a try. And I said, and he said, what I want you to do is I want you to act like you're having fun. I know you hate tennis, and I know you're going to quit at the end of this Grand Slam, but I want you to fool the entire crowd. I want them to think when they watch you that girl playing is having a lot of fun. And I said, sure, I'll give it a try. So I played the first match, and we won that one 6-4 in the third. And I came off the court, and he said, did you have any fun? I'm like, no, I hated it. 6-4 in the third is stressful. Whether you're playing your league, first round match, or the finals of Wimbledon 6-4, anytime you get the 4 on the third in tennis, there's a lot of stress. So he said, okay, we'll try it again. And I tried it again. I won that, tried it again, won that, tried it again, won that. Now we're in the semifinals of the US Open, and we're playing the best team in the history of tennis, male or female, singles or doubles, Martina Navratilova and Pam Shriver. If you look at the record, they, bar none, are the best team ever. They had just finished a 108 match win streak at the Wimbledon. That's almost 3 years without losing. I mean, it's just incredible, right? So we had no chance, but somehow, continuing this acting, we won. We beat them. We made the finals, and I won the U.S. Open. We won the next match, won the U.S. Open. When I finished that match, I came off the court, and Dr. Lair said, "Look, are you having fun now?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm having a ball. I'm in the finals of the U.S. Open," and we ended up winning it. So that was the first time that I really understood the power of the mind, and really how not you controlling it and not letting it control you was going to have a huge impact in my career. And then from there, I did a lot more things that helped me become mentally tougher, like learning to meditate and visualization, and practicing diaphragmatic breathing and a lot of different skills that I learned throughout my career that helped me perform well under pressure. Like in some ways, when the pressure was on, I played better when there was more pressure. So I credit all the people that helped me. Jim Lair was one. Julie Anthony was another one that was very instrumental in my development. And Herb Hampshire was the other mental coach that really was instrumental in helping me understand myself better so that I could play better under pressure.
Sure. I needed to bring my notepad to take some notes today. All right. We're going to switch gears just a little bit. We have another fan question for you. This one is from Heather Volk on Instagram. She asks, who were your best friends in the game and do you still keep in touch?
That's a great question because none is the answer. And, it's kind of unusual. I would say Natasha and Martina are two people that I keep in touch with now. Martina Navratilova, that is. I have a lot of acquaintances, and people that I have really fond memories of and that I consider sort of friends, but there's still that you were a competitor and you were not true friends in what I consider the friend word. Like my friends, my high school friends are friends and some friends that I've made since high school. But it's just so complicated to have a friend that you're competing against and you're trying to beat. So there's always that little bit of a wall, a little bit of not truly letting someone in fully, because at some point they could be on the other side of the court and you could be trying to destroy them. And if you have vulnerability with them, you might lose. So unfortunately, I think it's pretty common with top players to not really get close to their competitors. Some handle it better than others. I just didn't handle it so well, so I just didn't really get that close to anybody other than some of my doubles partners. So
for you saw that as a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah, because I would have to play against them, and then I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to beat my friend, So if I didn't have the killer instinct every time I went out on the court, then I lost my edge. And if I lost my edge, I could lose to anybody, and and I didn't want to lose my edge, so I just kind of kept everybody a little bit of a distance. And that's sort of the way it is. So, but now it's funny because once we retire, then I have all these people that I consider my friends, like Chandler Rubin, Katrina Adams, Tina Garrison. I just did a chat with them. Martina, I chat with. Lisa Raymond is another one. Conchita Martinez is still someone I communicate with. And Natasha, of course, I still consider her a friend, and her and I will always be connected and bound by this great team that we formed.
Yeah, by 14 Grand Slam titles. That's where we're going next. I want to know more about that partnership and that relationship. Bud Collins said you went together like peanut butter and jelly. So who was the peanut butter and who was the jelly?
I'd say she was the sweet one. Yeah, I think she was the jelly. I was more the aggressor, and we really meshed well. We complemented each other really well. And I found in my career that the players that I played best with were fairly even. Mary Jo Fernandez, whom I won 2 Olympic gold medals as well, was fairly steady emotionally. And I was the one that was volatile and doing this and that. So I needed somebody to kind of be flatlined when I was going up and down like a crazy person. So. And also our games complemented each other. My strengths were her weaknesses, and her weaknesses were my strengths. And then I think we connected on this shared desire to let our ex-partners know that they made a mistake, because we got together because my partner Yana Novotná and her partner Larissa Neelan stopped playing with both of us after the Wimbledon final in '91, so they could start playing together. So they basically dumped us after that match without either one of us knowing. So then when we got back together, they were our main competitors, and we just wanted to beat them so bad for dumping us. That anger, that the motive, that was really the motivator. Like, we're going to show them that they made a mistake, and that kind of drove us. We played them when we had that 6 Grand Slam win streak. 5 of them was against them. 5 of those Grand Slam finals was against the 2 of them. So
extra satisfying.
Yeah, it was.
All right. As we were preparing for this, came across a photo of you and Natasha after the 1995 US Open Women's Final. You guys are
Oh, we're
holding the
the original
trophy.
bra girls,
And
right?
yes, in your sports
Yes.
bras that say Adidas. I mean, forget Brandy
Take that, Brandy
Chastain.
Chastain.
Exactly. You guys were the iconic, the first ones. That's
We did it
incredible. What's the
first.
backstory?
We were just sponsored by Adidas, and they came up to us with this crazy idea to take our shirts off if we won the final, and we did. And I was Addy, and she was Das, and together it formed Adidas, and it was kind of a fun moment.
And a great
And
picture of
those
you.
bras are I believe those bras are in the Hall of Fame in the museum.
Yes, they
Yeah,
are. Yes, they
yeah.
are. Very cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the Olympics. I mean, having two gold medals in your possession, what an incredible memory. But it was also a little complicated given that you were representing the US. So what are the enduring emotions and feelings when you think back to your Olympic experience?
um, that's a tough one. You know, the '92 Olympic, which is Barcelona. I have zero regrets. I have nothing but great memories of that match and playing with Mary Jo, and match point and falling to the ground and walking on the podium and having the medal put around me. Like, I have no regrets. And what I still pains me is the reaction in Puerto Rico, because I did represent the United States because I had no partner there was no other tennis player in Puerto Rico that I would have qualified to play the Olympics with. There was just no one. There was not even a good college player that I could have played with. Um, and some people they're so patriotic that they can't see past it. And so yeah, so that was kind of tough. Um, and to this day, after Monica won her gold medal in 2016 in Rio, it became a lot worse, because then all the naysayers were like, "See, a Puerto Rican could have won the gold medal for Puerto Rico." I'm like, "But I was not a singles player; I was a doubles player." So it just seems like the story that never ends in my life. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I can't rewrite history; it's already written. I can only move forward and look ahead, and just continue to do the best I can with what I have, and help in Puerto Rico as much as I can with, given the limitations of time and distance. Um, and I still have family there. I still feel 100% Puerto Rican. I'm still the first Puerto Rican to win a gold medal, whether I don't care what Monica Puig or anyone says, I am still the first Puerto Rican to win a gold medal. And she's the first Puerto Rican to win a gold medal for Puerto Rico. But it says the dichotomy of being Puerto Rican. We're all Puerto Ricans, but we're also U.S. citizens. So we are truly both. And that presents a problem at times.
Do you take some satisfaction though in knowing that in a lot of ways, as the first female professional athlete from Puerto Rico, that you paved the way in many ways for what
Yeah,
Monica has done?
yeah. I mean, I'm fairly aware of my legacy in the Hispanic world as far as tennis is concerned, and girls like Monica, who started playing tennis because they had people like me who came before them, and they could say, "I want to be like her." So that feels good, and to a certain degree, but it doesn't take the pain away from the other part, right? But
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that's complicated is probably the right word there, right?
yeah, it's very complicated, and I don't think it's ended. I don't think we've seen the last chapter. I think when Monica retires, we'll have a different kind of relationship than we have now. It's fairly strained right now, but I think when she retires, like I said earlier, when players retire, they start seeing life in tennis in a different way, and hopefully we'll get to that someday.
Sure. Well, let's shift ahead to your life post tennis. You've done a lot of different things, but it seems like your sweet spot has sort of ended up being the coaching, the doubles coaching. Again, the online work and the in-person clinics. Why do you think that's been your sweet spot?
So when I started coaching, um, first of all, I started coaching in college. I started coaching some juniors, college players. I coached the team, that NCAA team here in the University of South Florida. I coached Lisa Raymond and Sam Stosur, who won the U.S. Open when I was coaching them in 2005. Once I had my kids in 2009, I didn't want to travel anymore. Actually, once I started trying to become a mom, which is in 2007, I started really limiting my travel. And I found adult recreational coaching by complete accident when I moved to Connecticut, and Chelsea Pierce offered me a job as director of tennis. It was a new facility that was opening up. I had no idea how to be director of anything, but I think they liked that my name drew a lot of attention, and a lot of people came to the program because I was the director. And the facility was literally next door to my kids' school, so it really worked. I would drop my kids at school and then, walk right over to the facility, and that's when I really started coaching adults. And I really found that I really enjoy it because they're my peers. They were very respectful. Like sometimes when I coach juniors, which I've coached lots of them, they don't understand who they're being coached by. Whether it was me or Joe in the corner,
Mm-hmm.
they sometimes would treat us the same way, and I just always felt like I should command a little more respect because I'm a Hall of Famer, and when a 10-year-old doesn't understand that, right? But an adult, the adults really kind of really enjoyed my instruction and appreciated it and really respected. And then I learned that tennis is a social game, and I discovered the social part of tennis, and started making friends and really enjoying the social part of it. And that's where really I got hooked, and I decided to just kind of stick with teaching adults. There was a huge niche. There still is in coaching adults how to play doubles. I felt not a really good base or really good doubles instruction going on in our country. So that's why I started doing the camps. I've had the opportunity to visit a couple of camps with my students, and I wasn't super impressed with how they were being taught. So that's what I do now. I teach people how to play doubles. I'm pretty good at it. So, and I don't. I mean, it's a fairly affordable camp relative to the other camps that are out there. So you can learn doubles from a Hall of Famer. Why would you learn from Joe in the corner, right? So
Right. Poor Joe in the corner is taking a beating today, but no, you're absolutely right. I've
right.
seen your website, and I know I actually know some people who have worked through the program. So
Oh, cool. Who?
exceptional reviews.
Can you name them?
They were people I actually taught, and it was
Mm,
a little too long ago for me to remember their names. Sorry,
okay,
guys.
that's okay.
No, but no, I've heard really amazing things.
Yeah,
So there you go. If you're watching today,
yeah.
all right. Let's fast forward to your Hall of Fame induction in 2010. You were inducted alongside Natasha Zvereva. What do you remember about that weekend? What sticks out for you?
What sticks out was that I had 48 family members there. I think I still to this day I have the largest contingency, which is not surprising because I'm Hispanic and we have big families, and they all came. We had a blast. I booked out a little bed and breakfast out of 10 rooms, and we all stayed there. And also, my kids were July. They were a year and 2 months, so they were little babies. So they were just sitting in my family's lap, and I remember seeing them there, and it was just great to be there with my whole family, and being what an honor, to be the first Puerto Rican to be inducted. And I'm so thrilled that it happened with Natasha, because and the Woodies, of course, I wouldn't have wanted to be inducted without Natasha. So I'm glad that they put us in together.
Did your kids make it through the ceremony, or did they take a
Yeah,
little
they
siesta?
did, and it was like 1,000 degrees. But ours happened to be really hot that day, but yeah, they don't remember anything, of course, but we have the pictures, so we always have the pictures.
Amazing. All right. Well, we are going to shift over to some of the fan questions we have received during our live today. This first one is from Mike. He says, "What can the smaller tournaments do to better promote doubles?" This is a great question.
The small ones are the big ones. I think all in tennis in general, there's such an interest in doubles because that's what that's what the fan plays. Like the fan that is watching, that's a tennis player, mostly plays doubles. And there's really not much you can relate to when you watch Roger and Rafa play and 20 shot rally from the baseline, whacking the ball, hitting it this close to the line, right? I mean, no recreational player is ever going to do that. But if you watch a good doubles match, there's so much you can learn by watching a doubles match, by watching where their position, what their shot selection, where they stand, how they peek on opponents, where they serve. There's just so much you can learn. So I wish that, and I think someday we'll get there where more. I mean, now we have so many technologies available to us. Even if it was on on a Facebook Live or on some kind of random broadcast where people could just log in and watch it. I think hopefully somebody someday will make that available. My original goal for doubles.tv, which is my platform where all my instructional videos are, it was a place for people to go watch doubles matches that would be properly commentated for them, so they could watch a match and learn while watching.
Right.
But I found a lot of resistance in trying to acquire those videos and those old matches. There's the whole legal side of it,
Broadcast
and the
rights.
broadcast. Yeah, it was I tried. I sincerely tried, but was not able to achieve. I haven't given up, but this looks like a really long shot.
I love the concept, though. Here's another one. What are some of the biggest differences between coaching at the collegiate level? You, of course, coached at USF, and at the professional level.
I think, well, first of all, the talent level, right? The talent pool.
Sure.
In a way, it's a lot easier to coach pros because there's so much talent there and they can do so many different things. The college level, you're more, it's a team, right? So you're not just one-on-one with an individual, you're coaching a whole entire team, and there's a lot that goes into that, making sure everybody's happy, not just one person, and kind of managing the chemistry between the various team members. And so yeah, in some ways it's the same because it's tennis and you're analyzing an opponent and picking out weaknesses and attacking them. And but in another sense, you definitely have to be more creative when you're coaching college players or players of lesser talent than you do once you get to coach pros. It's pretty simple, actually. I think.
Yeah. Well, the team also, you have 8 different personalities that you're
Right.
working with as
Yeah.
well, right? That's
Yeah.
another challenge, I'm sure. All right,
Yeah.
here, this last question I have is actually a question for me, because we asked Todd Woodbridge about it last week, and I loved hearing his answer. Is there a bit of tennis advice that sort of works at all levels? Is there kind of like a bread and butter tip for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the main problems that I see with recreational players is they have taken the concept of following the ball to an exaggerated, unfortunate place, right? So we've all been taught to follow the ball, but what happens when you follow the ball? And I'm going to move this so you can see the court.
Oh, visual
What
aids.
happens?
This is great.
Yeah. So when these players move side to side, because they're following the ball, right? The ball goes here, they go there. The ball goes there, they move here. What happens when you move that way is that this person gets too close to the alley. And when you're standing in the alley, you're leaving 90% of the court for your partner. And also, there's middle confusion. Who gets the middle ball? I don't know. Who gets it? Is it yours or mine? So no one gets it, or they both go and they crash. So we solve that by staggering. When we stagger, one person's slightly in front of the other, and this person's responsible. Now who's responsible for the middle ball? Whoever's closest to the ball. Because in tennis forever, in doubles, whoever's closest to the ball has the first right at the ball. So now that they're staggered, they get the middle ball, and they're responsible for the lobs. So if the lob goes over them, they have to go get it, which is proper positioning and court coverage. And then we give away this shot, which is the lowest percentage of the lowest percentage of shots that even pros don't make all the time, right? And in my coaching of recreational players, 3-5, 4-0, or 4-5s make that shot 1 out of 10 times. So you don't really want to cover the shot in tennis that goes in 1 out of 10 times.
All percentages, right? Well, since we have
Right.
the board there, can I ask you one more?
Yeah,
Is there
sure.
a drill? So say you're out there with a hopper of balls, or you're standing off to the side of the court. Is there a drill in terms of feeding that you find to be the most effective?
So many drills. That's a really hard question. But how, usually, like I like to do up to back. When I do clinics, I always start the players 2 up to back, and then immediately I started working on staggering. So if I feed the ball this way, then they stagger like that. If the ball stays on this side, they're good. But as soon as we change the direction of the ball, then they got to re-stagger. So you do this with 4 players on a court, and then you do 4 rotations so that everybody gets to be on each of the 4 spots of the doubles court. Some people say, well, you don't play 2 up, 2 back very often, but the problem with putting 1 here is that the rallies don't go on as long. Anytime you hit to this person, the point's over. But if you stay in the baseline, it also teaches one very common error that I see in this drill is like this person's getting all the balls, right? And then this one gets bored and they run in. When you do this, you have put your team in the worst position in doubles. You never want to be one up, one back with two up. So even if your pros are telling you to get to the net, you have to be smart about getting to the net. You either stay back and try to win from the baseline, or you have to come in together. When you come in together, then two up, no one has the advantage. You never want to be one up, one back against two up if you can avoid it.
Well, now I have to go get a racket and go play some doubles. No, that's really great to see. I love that you have the little visual layer because it really is. It's helpful to see sort of the layout. But Gigi,
Yeah.
this has been an absolute pleasure. Anything you want to tell the people watching today in terms of? I know you said we're hoping for your camps in the fall, but anything else you're up to? Anything else?
Yeah. So right now I have a product called the Roadmap to Mental Dominance, which puts together everything I know about how to be mentally tough, which, as you already heard, I was not born with it. And, there's 7 pillars to mental dominance. You have to understand your brain, what happens to you under pressure. You have to set goals that help you succeed. You have to have good pre-match preparation. And I think recreational players are horrible about preparing for matches. There's not much pre-match preparation going on. Then there's your match mentality, how you set that. It changes depending on your opponent. We have what I call the crave sequence, which is what you do in the 25 seconds between points. Then we have trigger words, which you have to perform well under pressure. And then I also give them what I call the mental toolkit, which is 13 things that I did from the mental perspective. 6 of them are off-court mental training skills, and 7 of them are things you can do when you're playing. So that's happening next week. This week there's a free workshop, so you get a portion of that. So you go to the roadmap to mentaldominance.com. This week directs you to the free workshop. Next week it will direct you to the paid program, which will also include the Gigi method. And I'm selling that for $97 for both. And that's, last year the roadmap sold for $249 and the Gigi method sells for $179. And I'm selling both for $97 because of this, what we're going through, trying to make it accessible to as many people as possible. We all have a lot of free time right now, sitting at home. I think the world is starting to open, but some people are, including me, reluctant to get out there.
Sure.
I'm still kind of nervous about it and happy to stay at home. And so I say take this time and use it to better yourself on the mental side, which is something that happens really off the court. Most of the work of mental improvement happens off the court. You have to do all the work off the court. Then when you take it to the court, you have those skills. So that'll be available next week. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I did. It's interesting to hear what you've been up to. Just because you're not traveling does not mean that you are not working hard, but I hope you do enjoy the bonus time at home with your kids. It was such a pleasure to have you here today. And you can all join us next week for another Hall of Fame Live. We will have Kim Kleisters joining us, so you can come back and see us then. Thanks again, Gigi.
Yeah, and then GigiFernandezTennis.com has all my stuff, and you can sign up for my free tips, and that's a good place to start. Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.